Did you add Larry to the list of our Roberts committee?
No, need to do that.
Okay, I asked her again just now.
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to make sure because I'll put it on the
I
agenda.
did not forget you.
Sorry.
I did not forget you.
Yeah, I did. We did not have a meeting this last go around. No.
But you can go in November because I won't be there.
You'll be doing fun stuff.
That's right. Traveling the world. So much better.
Waiting for anybody else?
I don't think so. I think everybody was here.
All right, everyone, I'm gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order. I think everyone could stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jumped it. All right, Gail, could you go ahead and call roll for us?
Yes. Vice President.
Here.
Larry Nyble.
Here.
Samantha Maggie.
Here.
Ruby Yard.
Here.
Scott Burke.
Here.
Two reps.
No reps today. Okay. Okay, first item, we have our consent agenda on there. If everyone's had a chance to review those items, and
And
I have,
we have,
and I got a question.
oh, I have one thing. There's this one slight change to the agenda too, before we do the consent agenda. We're gonna slide a presentation in between SASH leadership and long range facility plan. We're gonna have a senior project presentation. Add that to your agendas if you're keeping score. Big story. Okay. Go ahead, Larry, you have questions?
Okay, from last month's agenda,
Mhm.
I asked a question to Sean about the easement. Did you get a question from that? Because it was never put in here in the report.
No, I did not.
Will you do it this month? And ask me next month when you will
I will.
have some kind of response? Because I hate to see that get along too far.
Okay, hey, just for reference, I mean, this is not. really-
I know, but I'm just making it a point.
Just to be clear, this is not where we give directives to staff. Like, this is kind of a board meeting. If we want to have this kind of conversations,
Perfect.
we can bring it up a different time or ask. I don't want to get into it. So thanks, Larry. Okay. So we have a comment from the consent agenda that we will take into account. Any other questions or comments about that, or do we have a motion?
I move to approve consent agenda as presented with the change in the agenda.
I second.
Okay, you have a motion from Samantha and a second from Ruby to approve the consent agenda. Kelly, you want to call a roll for us? Call vote.
Vice President. Aye. Larry Nyble.
Aye.
Samantha Maggie.
Aye.
Ruby Yard.
Aye.
Scott Burke.
Aye. All right, motion passes, consent agenda is approved, and we will move into presentations, and first up, we have SHS leadership. All right. Thanks for joining us. Just tell us who you are and go ahead and begin your presentation.
I'm Logan Watkins, and I will be representing as a liaison for the high school. The homecoming game took place on Friday, October 11th. This year's homecoming theme was Alice in Wonderland. We had 105 students attend our dance this year, and for the first time ever, we held it in the new gym. Mr. Tripp was an excellent DJ, and students seemed to enjoy themselves. Leadership class is planning some fun events for students to participate in for Halloween. We are having a coloring contest, selling candy grams, and we'll have a Halloween Spirit Week. For program updates, we have music. The band concert is planned for October 24th in the cafeteria. Cheerleading had 8 athletes perform in all states preliminary rounds last week. 3 of our athletes made the final rounds and will be performing in South Albany this Saturday. Senior night is Friday, November 1st. The cheer team is heading to nationals in Las Vegas. They're selling cookie dough and butter braids to raise money. Volleyball. Volleyball has an away game October 17th in Dayton. All 3 teams are going. Then varsity and JV-JV2 hybrid will be in a tournament on Saturday. Senior night is October 21st. The varsity team has had 12 victories and 10 losses. Soccer Soccer is in their last week of games. Senior night was Tuesday versus Yamhill Carlton, and their last game is tonight at Salem Academy. They have improved so much this year, and we are so proud of them. Football has a home game this Thursday against Fall City. The theme is Pink Out. We will also have our youth cheerleaders performing at halftime. Senior night is Friday, November 1st. The varsity team has had 2 victories and 3 losses. Cross country is headed to districts on October 30th. FFA, Ag Sales and Food Science competitions are on November 12th. The next chapter meeting will be November 18th at 6 p.m. For other clubs and news, Mr. Coyle is starting a club this week that will meet every Wednesday in his classroom from 3:45 until 5 p.m. The Rotary Esports Tournament was rescheduled to January 25th. Avid students are going on a field trip to the University of Oregon on October 23rd. Seniors have a field trip to the Chemeketa Brooks campus on October 30th. This is my report for the month. Is there any questions?
All right, thanks. Does anybody have any questions for the report? All right,
Thank you.
good job. Thanks for joining us. Okay, next up, we have a senior project presentation. Go ahead, bring it up here so we can all see it there, if the cords will allow it.
Sit right here.
Sure.
Right at the top. Hey,
You got to hold it.
Hi, my name is Abigail Giddings, and my senior project is I'm doing a hands-only CPR class for all the 8th graders. I have my donation letters right here that basically explains how I'm using the money, and I've gone to a meeting with the Education Foundation, and they are acting as my fiscal agent. So a good way to donate for this is to go to First Federal and say, hey, I would like to donate to Abby's senior project, and then it can be tax deductible. This is a lot more nerve-wracking than I thought it was gonna be.
Don't worry, we're friends.
I had it all, it was all planned, and now it's gone.
Explain why did you choose this project?
So around 8th grade is usually the time where if a kid or any family member or friends and something happens to them, like more specifically anything heart related, and someone needs to perform CPR, they are going to have an effect on it, whether they're an adult or not. If you're a little younger than that, then it's just a kid trying to do something that they can't, it's not going to affect anymore. 8th grade, I think, is a good age to at least learn the basics. At that age, you have a lot of thoughts going on. And the only thing that I'm aware of with our school district currently is one day during health class in sophomore year. And frankly, you're a sophomore, you really don't care. It's gone the next day. 8th grade, you at least get the knowledge beforehand. And then by the time sophomore year rolls around, then it's more of a refresher than anything. That board right there is a board I bring to any event that lets me have a table there so I can receive donations, get the word out. Sheridan Fire District is working with me to help keep this
Sustainable.
yeah. They are currently upgrading their own CPR mannequins, and they are donating their old ones to this cause for us. I have also recently found out we have a contact with Grand Ron Fire who will gladly help out, and she herself is CPR certified. Another thing I'm planning on doing is putting up posters in Faulkner Chapman. One thing we found is the American Heart Association has a Spotify playlist with well over 100 songs with the right beat that you can use during CPR. And a lot of kids like to use Spotify. So we have some of the codes up there too. So it was the plan to put some of those on the posters, get it in their minds beforehand. So then it becomes more of a sound association. You hear the song, you know the beat.
Excellent. And to sustain after you're going to graduate, what's
Yeah.
going to happen next year? What are your thoughts on that?
I hope to raise at least $5,000 to keep this program afloat for a couple years, so that hopefully it'll become a yearly thing like the blood drive or Abby's Closet. So a couple years or next year, all the senior has to do is just raise up the money again. Because I believe this is knowledge that people should know in case anything happens. Because better to have it and not need it than to be in a situation where someone needs it and then no one knows what to do.
Thank you.
And what is the annual cost right now?
That depends on the school district in mind, because we have a contact with Salem Fire and they do it yearly. And for them, it's about, I think it was either 75% or 25. I remember it ended with a 5. But they do it for all the schools in like the Kaiser area.
Mhm.
And it's a couple $1,000s for them, which is obviously going to be less for this school district, but it's nice to have more money in case somebody decides, we're not going to do this. No senior wants to pick it up. So maybe in a couple years, it stays afloat somehow. And then someone's like, oh, you know, that sounds like a good idea.
So the money basically that you're raising, most of it goes to pay for an instructor. So that's the main cost of this year's stuff. Gotcha. Okay.
When would the first training be?
We are thinking springtime, because then it gives the senior
Time to
and
raise.
future seniors time to raise the money and get things organized.
Do you have a favorite song off the playlist?
No, Staying Alive is a good one.
Oldie by goodie.
No one
Immediately went through my
expects
head.
Ice Ice Baby though.
Yeah. Did you raise any funds at the town hall?
We got $26 from there, but we had a table set up at the pancake feed that the fire hall did, and we got about $300 from that.
Oh, very
And then
nice.
we had about a $100 donation into the First Federal account. So we're sitting at about $500 roughly from where we are.
Very nice.
Did you ask the Volunteer Firefighter Association for a donation?
We have not yet.
You should. First Wednesday of every month.
Okay.
I wonder if they have any volunteers that would donate training time if they were trained to do that. Just cut right to the
Marguerite
chase.
Alexander would be a great person to talk to.
Over at the station. Marjorie Alexander.
Marguerite Alexander.
Marguerite.
Mhm. She teaches CPR.
We've talked to her
Yeah, I bet you have.
Yeah,
a lot.
already done. All right, anyone have any other questions? No? All right, thanks, Abigail. Good luck to you. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, then our last presentation tonight is about our long-range facility plan.
Welcome. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
I'm
Elisa Warner with Architecture also.
Molly Griffith, parent,
And on the Long Range Facility Plan Committee.
and on the committee.
Well, thank you for having us out here tonight. We actually going to cruise through the presentation fairly quickly. I know you all have had this plan for quite a while now, and you've had a copy of this presentation. So we're just going to focus on the highlights and move to the information. But I know that you all are familiar with the Long Range Facilities Plan, the process, having gone through this actually a couple times in the past 4.5 years. As you know, Long Range Facilities Plan is required by the Oregon Department of Education. It is required that it's updated every 5 years, especially in order to apply for awesome grant funding. And with Sheridan in a position to potentially do that in the future,
Though we had just done a long-range facilities plan about 4.5 years ago, so it afforded us, something to build on pretty quickly. But go on. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. So the major components, back one, sorry.
Okay, there we go. Go.
The major components of a long-range facilities plan, of course, first documentation of your facility's condition, and that involves assessments where we look at the architectural aspects, structural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, your roofs, and also school site elements, playgrounds and fields. We also do educational adequacy assessments, which look at how well your facilities are working for you from a teaching and learning standpoint. And then the third major component is a look at your 10-year enrollment projections relative to your school capacity. So those are kind of the three pillars of the plan. And then I will let Molly talk about our process.
Okay. So we started meeting earlier this summer to kind of figure out what the needs were for our facilities and come up with a plan of how those should be best arranged by priority over the next year to 10 plus years.
Meeting schedule.
So our top priorities, we decided that safety and security were kind of at the top of the list. Also investing in technology upgrades to the school, security cameras, the safety vestibule, upgrading computer systems, air conditioning, so many systems throughout all the buildings that are just absolutely out of date. So like I said, safety and security is kind of the top priority in improving the learning environments. We've got classrooms that are tiles coming up from the floor, tiles falling down from the ceiling, outdated desks, chairs. It's just, yeah. I read through this so many times and it's just absolutely left my brain. So the HVAC system at FCS has been causing a lot of problems. It doesn't work efficiently anymore, being 20 years old, and there is a leak in the roof. That's my understanding from that system sitting out there. The bathrooms have degraded fixtures, the wall partitions are scratched or broken, those need replacing. And for safety, we want to upgrade the vestibule at FCS to have a pass-through sally port so that people can actually go to the office first before they're allowed into the rest of the building. Again, with the HVAC system, this time at the high school, also outdated, and the aging floors that are asbestos that need abatement. Roof replacement, upgrades to the cafeteria and kitchen, to the stage, the lighting, all needs updating. Everything's just old. It's time for replacement. So for the next 6 to 10 years, some things we're gonna need to look at replacing our windows, being a 20-year-old building, replacement of flooring. The science classrooms at FCS are kind of inoperable as they are, which is too bad because there's still some really great usable facilities in there. And old playground equipment that is breaking and has holes, which is still being used. And then replacing the wood chips with a safer underlayment. And also looking at improving the route for, is it for buses? Or people? Okay, the bus route, possibly rerouting that to behind the school with a new drop-off location, upgrading areas where the dumpsters are to be better accessible and not so swampy. A couple areas around the school actually that get a little swampy that need fixing. And same with replacement of windows at Sheridan High School as well. fixing the old gym, the floors, the ceiling. Maybe it'd be cool to get those beams out of there, ripping out the old locker rooms and make that usable space. And then ballers in front of the high school prevent vehicles from driving inside, and replacing the sprinkler system at the high school, possibly enclosing the entire campus in a fence, and replacing the modular buildings at the high school that are not operational.
Did you want to touch on this, or? Molly, do you want to touch on
I
11 plus years, or?
No.
Okay.
There's a lot of work that needs to be done.
I would say, just for
It is.
my
It
first time going through it, with Brooke leading, it was a great experience to sit there and shuffle cards, because there were a lot of things that we wanted to address, but yet we worked in groups, we shuffled cards, and that's where we came up with the tiered list. We kept on having to remind ourselves, and Larry and Mike, you participated in this as well, that this was not bond planning. This is a long-range facility plan that is our foundation to go forward. We can still move things around and make decisions, but the committee came up with the tiered list that you saw with the slides of the priorities in those areas, based on the analysis of the buildings, the walkthroughs, everything that we went through in this process. So I think the committee did a good job. It's just reminding ourselves that while, you know, we have the bond in our brains, that this is a 10-year plan that with board approval tonight will be submitted to the state as our long-range facility plan that would replace the previous one.
It's been hard to put the bond out of my mind on this one.
Well, we are updating it because of.
I know.
It is connected.
It's hard to look at this and not think that that's the goal. And it is, but I know that for this purpose, that's not what we're doing.
And the actual long-range facility plan was sent to the board, I think, that first week of October. I mean, Brick really did a fast track to get that to you. It's about 120 some pages. I printed it out and put it in a binder. If this is the plan that we approve, I will do that for the board and for our administrative team so that we all have a copy of it to review. Dan and Elise, do you have anything that you want to add about the process or any of the work that needs to be done?
Well, I mean, I would just second what you said earlier, that this is a long range, this is a plan over time. This isn't necessarily a bond plan. If you're able to pass a bond at some point, then you can address key issues, things the community supports. Nobody ever passes a bond to fix all this stuff, so it's the state requires you to do it so that you think this stuff through and try to, as a community, decide what your priorities are. And then those are things you can address with the top on. And we had good participation, we had a good committee. And like Dory said, that exercise where we ask people to prioritize things is tough because everything's important. How do you decide what goes where? But after a lot of good discussion, people sort of were able to say, yeah, these are the most important things, and these are the second most, and these are more of wish list.
Yeah, and I think the tier one list in particular is a good foundation for the bond planning process once that starts. So you have your bond planning committee, they can start with that tier one list, knowing that those were the projects that kind of rose to the top during this process. And it makes their task a little easier. Not saying they could maybe grab some projects from other tiers, but you know, it is give you like a snapshot of what the stakeholders felt were important at the time of the plan. And you know, then you look at community polling, you look at other aspects to put together the bond package at that time, and the costs, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, I think it's safe to say that there's a pretty good reason why ODE requires you to have this plan, because it is super informative to the bond process. I mean, yeah, it's not a complete laundry list of all things we're gonna get to do, but we're gonna use it like crazy. And just looking at the plan, I see a bunch of parents in the community on the committee, so it's easy for us to point to start building consensus to say these are the things everyone's identified that we all decided we need to fix. So it's got a lot of good things going for it. Anybody have anything they want to discuss in the presentation or the plan in general, or any questions while we have this knowledgeable panel in front of us? Because this is going to be an action item later on, and we can discuss it more then if we need to, but we have.
I got one question. As I went through this whole thing, you say the high school was built in 1955. Maybe the old gym was built in 1955, but that school around it was built like in 1964, 65. 63, whenever the flood was, it flooded then, so it was prior to that, so it was 64, something like that. The old gym was built around the old school that was sitting there.
You're talking about the high school itself?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
I
wow.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
The old gym was original to the old high school?
Yep.
Oh.
So it's really old. Okay.
Yeah, the gym was built in the 40s, maybe? Is that?
What, the gym?
The-
I don't know. I mean, the high school was, the old high school was built like in 1922 or something like that. It was like 3 stories high. Then that gym was built there, and they built around that gym. I think it was the only thing that was salvageable at that time. So maybe it was, when it comes up with 1955, that's the only thing I think it would be. I mean, that was the only question.
Tim, you should have that info.
Yeah. It's not on the Wikipedia page.
Interesting. I had no idea.
It's out there somewhere. Yeah. Looks like-
Ask the old timers around here; they'll tell you.
Yeah.
True.
Driving knowledge, yeah. Okay, anybody have any other questions? Okay, well, I don't know how often, if the committee's gonna keep meeting after this, have they kind of done their job?
They've done their
for now?
job.
Okay,
So if the board approves this tonight, OTAC was also part of the assessment and analysis, working with Brick. We had both teams here. I will talk to Dan and Bob about submitting this to the state, if the board approves it. And then, as it was stated earlier, this is the last step we need to position the district that should we pass a bond, we would receive the Awesome Grant. You cannot receive the Awesome Grant without having a current long-range facility plan.
Is that the one that matches up to like 12?
6 million. It would be up to, if we pass, for example, if a district passes a $6 million bond, they get a $6 million Awesome Grant. Other districts have gone for smaller amounts, like a $4 million bond, and they get a $4 million Awesome Grant. But the limit is up to 6 million. But we need to get this submitted, approved by the board, submitted to the state before we can be looking at that.
okay. Thanks so much for your time and information, and thanks to the committee. We'll come up again later, so, yeah. All right, do we have any public input tonight in our meeting? I'm not seeing anybody in here looking, doing public input, so let's just move into administrative program reports, and Pat, come on up and join us.
Good evening. Thanks for having me again. It's October, it's hard to believe. It's the time of year when November flies by and December flies by and all of a sudden we're in the new year. So want to start my report by showing our current enrollment, because I know that's always something that people are interested in seeing. So right now, currently in the high school, we're at 217 students. That was as of last week. I'll be up to 219 as we've had some students come in. I did add the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade classes there just to show what the future looks like for us as we move forward, because that's going to play into the next point of my report, which is the OSA classification appeal. If you remember last year, we had a community member and a basketball coach, Patrick Grauer, come and speak to us about concerns regarding where our school is sitting competitively in with the OSAA and other teams and leagues in our area. So we are moving forward with appealing our current classification as a 3A school. That takes place at the December 2024 OSAA classification and districts meeting. I'll be attending. We're in the process right now of putting together all of our materials we need for that appeal to be turned in by November 1st to OSAA. That appeal is going to include our justification for wanting to be reclassified as a 2A school. That justification, like I said, being the competitive nature of the size of our school. So our students have an opportunity to compete at a competitive level. Current enrollment, so where we're at currently, projected enrollment, they need to have written statements from impacted districts. So we're working with, and this works to our favor, we're currently in the Pac West Conference. There's 9 teams in that league. We're looking at the 2A conference that we would request to go into is the Tri-Rivers. They are a 9-person league as well. It benefits both leagues to go from an odd number to an even number, which that would do for scheduling reasons. So that would put the Pac West at 8 teams and the Tri-Rivers at 10 teams. And we already have commitments from those conferences to support this request of ours. Any written testimony, and I think that would be great to get a statement from the school board supporting this for that appeal would be a good piece of evidence to have. And then any other relevant materials that we need to bring together. So I will be attending that December meeting to present that appeal. Like I said here in the second paragraph, while our current enrollment justifies that appeal, if you see on the table, although I say our enrollment is 217, there's an adjustment, and I included that calculation component on that other document from OSAA. So we have an adjusted ADM of 133. The main thing that gets us from 217 to 133 is calculating in the socioeconomic factor that is calculated for most, and that comes from students receiving free lunch and qualify for free lunch. So we're the only school currently in our conference that falls below the current 3A classification, which is 146 to 310, and that adjusted. So you can see we have Taft in our league, which is at the very top of that, and we're at 133. So we're about 10% below what would be the very bottom of the 3A classification. Some things to note that this is this year that we're appealing for. So this would be for the next year. So next fall, the 25-26 school year. That's the final year of what the OSA refers to as the quadrennial. So every 4 years, they look at the numbers and redistrict for the whole state. So we will be entering into the final year of that quadrennial. So the following December, so I go this December, the next December, they're going to have a much bigger meeting in December and start the process of reshuffling the whole state. So what that means is that change we make might just be for a single year, meaning we could stay at 2A, they could change everything up, change the numbers that what classifies as 3A, and then we're back at 3A. Could be completely different schools. It changes all the time. A few years ago when I was working in Salem Kaiser, all of a sudden all the Central Oregon high schools are in the Valley League. So teams from Salem were traveling to Bend in winter for basketball, which was if you've been around, it had been a big, so it can be very disruptive. But I just wanted to make that is a factor when they were looking at this, that this appeal would be just for a single year. And they wanted us to be aware of that. So that could be an effect in the decision for that. So that's where we're at now. Like I said, I'll be there in December with the materials submitted here in the next couple of weeks. Give a little bit of an update on it. We have a new employee, Kelly Weathers, is our graduation coach, and I'm super excited about this because she's doing a fantastic job of meeting with every senior, and now she's met with almost every junior and putting together graduation plans. Like these These are in a binder. These are documents with trackers with a plan for all of our students, regardless if they're on track to graduate or are needing intervention. And those kids are doing goal setting with her. So she's doing I just want to really commend her for the work she's doing, and she's super committed to it, and she's fantastically well organized, which is exactly what this position needs, and has wonderful relationships with her students. So she's doing a really good job with that. And then finally, I know we had some conversations, I believe it was in August when I was here, regarding how best to support our teams in regards to health and safety. There's conversations about having an athletic trainer. We've exhaustively looked at what's required by OSAA, and it's pretty meaty what they require, and that is, of course, all the trainings and certifications that our coaches need to have, and then also what's required at games. And so currently, we're fortunate enough to have Sheridan Fire at all of our games. And if you've been to our games, they've actually had to spring into action on a couple of occasions, including last weekend. That doesn't mean that excludes the idea of an athletic trainer. We're still exploring that idea and the cost associated with that. But just to be clear, our current EMTs is a high level of care. They're first responders. If you think about it, when there's a serious car accident, these are the people we call to be the first people on site. So I feel comfortable with the services we're currently providing. I think there's some opportunities for some preventative work that an athletic trainer might be able to provide. And we'll be looking at that for the next, probably next year as we look at the cost of that. We're working with some local providers. Throughout the state, there's some school, like for instance, Dayton's very fortunate. Dayton High School, they do have a trainer because they have a pathway, a CTE pathway for athletic training. So they have a CTE teacher who's a licensed athletic trainer who works for the school district. So they have that service. Overall, from what I saw from the last OSAA report, about 46% of the schools in the state have a trainer. So the majority of schools do not have a trainer that are paid. Some schools are lucky they have volunteers. We're looking at a volunteer as well, somebody who's in the community who might be willing to volunteer their time. So there's some different ways, because I just wanted to give you an update on that. So, any questions?
Do the trainers have to be like at all sports, all games, all practices? Like is there some gray area there? Like what's the requirement for that?
For a trainer?
Yeah.
There's no requirement to have a trainer at all.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we're fortunate to have one, we would have to prioritize time because, the cost of having that person and where the need would be greatest. So that would be a conversation that we'd be having with our athletic director and coaches.
Okay.
If we're able to go down that route.
Who takes the ankles like before practice and games?
We have nobody taping, and in fact, taping is a very interesting topic. Taping actually isn't advised by OSAA because the people doing the taping are not. You should only have athletic trainers doing taping because there have actually been some situations where there's liability by having untrained people doing taping and actually doing things incorrectly and causing injury. So it's actually advised to not have coaches or anyone do taping unless they're licensed and trained to know how to properly do that taping.
All right. Any other questions for Pat?
Because I would like, if anyone would like to write a letter supporting our appeal from the board, that would be wonderful.
Is there a date you need that by? Or-
I do need, probably a week, before November 1st, because that's,
Before November
yeah,
1st?
because that's when I have to have it submitted to them for their December meeting.
Okay. Good.
That'd be great. Thanks. I appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
I think you get one of these. Fry it up and we'll sign our name to it.
Yeah, that'd be great. I appreciate it. That'd be wonderful.
From everyone.
Thank you.
I think they got it. We'll just sign. No, I said, I think they got it. We'll just sign. Yeah. See?
Bye, Pat.
All right. Superintendent report. Take it away. Joel.
All right, as Pat said, it's October and things are just moving right along. I have a few updates for the board tonight. You will see in the section of action items, the memorandum of agreement that we are working on with the tribe. At our last board work session, and I'm going to just go down there so I can show you the two sections. We went through with Angela Fasana, and then I was able to sit down with the admin team and go through the document. At the board work session, we did discuss a couple of concerns that we had, and they were in particularly two sections. One was the curriculum and the schedule of the curriculum and how that was going to work. You'll see in the track changes that I removed the specific grade levels so that we have the flexibility of which grade levels are ready and that we can plan our training and make sure that they're well prepared. At the board work session, we also looked at how we're talking 3 or 4 lessons, and they are available online. They are ready for every grade level. Everything is there, good to go. But we wanted over the period of the time that we would just gradually add the other grade levels without specifying who we were adding. And again, this is our proposed language. If the board would approve this proposed language, I would then send this to Angela. The other one that we changed was the requirement to attend their annual summit. Their annual summit is usually right before our in-service week. And it would be really difficult to have a large number of people going. That is their last day of vacation before they report to work. So I put it as we will make every effort to send a representative from each grade level. And at a minimum, we looked at one teacher from each of the grade levels. And then I wanted to make sure we had the language in here that for every professional development session, and this is something that Studer does all the time with us, is that we have the opportunity to give feedback on the training. What did we learn? Did it benefit us? So I wanted to put language in there that we would have the opportunity to give feedback as to the quality of the training. So that's the changes that we did. Everything else was just some of the corrections or things that we went through. As we talked about at the board work session, many elements of the memorandum of agreement are already in place. We already have tutors coming in. We already share information with the release of, with the required paperwork. So we felt really good about it. It is just, we did not want to have the curriculum specify certain grade levels. We wanted that flexibility. So that is the update then on.
Have you talked to Angela about that?
No, because I wanted board approval first.
Okay, I just wondered how she felt.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, she kind of said we can be flexible
Yeah.
on this at the board
I
work
thought she was
session. Yeah, but this is an agreement between the tribal council and the board that we get to act on. So I just, meeting with the admin team, I wanted to make sure that we were comfortable with the language, that it was doable before I brought it to the board. Division 22 board presentation for tonight. So if you remember, a year ago, we were out of compliance in 2 different areas. One was in media programs. We have worked to have the start of the middle school library up there in the 2nd floor and have that open a couple of days a week for middle school students. And then the instructional materials adoption, we were behind on world languages. We've already taken care of that. So I was able to report that we are now in compliance in these 2 areas because we followed our action plan. And this gets submitted to the state. It'll be posted on our website. And this completes our Division 22 reporting requirement for the 23-24 school year.
Who is the librarian doing that?
Kim Ward. So she's the high school librarian. She's actually a licensed librarian in a classified position. And she goes up to Faulkner Chapman and is up there to open the library and work with students. We were just talking today about using her in a larger capacity to help students with more research and really expanding that role between the two libraries.
So is it mainly a digital library, or what did it end up being?
No, we ended up moving a lot of books in there. And then
From the high school, or?
between the high school and what Faulkner still had, and then we were able to order more middle school books. So it's a work in progress. We have started. There are some things up there, and students are up there also and using the space at lunch.
I have a question on that.
Mhm.
Are we able to make like a wish list that the community could like purchase books?
Yes.
I mean, like on Amazon. I mean, I'm a big Amazon shopper, so I could,
Mhm.
do that, or I don't know.
Good idea.
That's a good idea.
Then we can make like a small purchase and still feel like they're making a difference.
Yeah, I mean, what took place was years ago, and it's unfortunate of the decisions that were made with the library space. I'm a firm believer that a school needs a fully functioning library. It's the culture and heart of a school where kids hang out and enjoy books and other types of media. So we'll just continue to work at that.
I think too, like publicly, we should make sure the public knows that we have done this, because it's pretty widely known that we didn't have that library at the middle school. And I think there's got to be a way to showcase it with a picture in the bulletin, or next time you have an open house, invite people to come see the library, or just some way to spread the word that it's up and running.
Good idea.
Ooh, conferences.
Definitely.
Yeah, conferences, something,
Conferences.
especially with a possible bond coming up.
Mhm.
The more positive press, the better.
They still do the book fair?
Yes. Yep, they do the book fair as well. Okay. Sheridan All Prep Academy, the charter renewal application is an action item for tonight. This is a new experience for me. When I was hired, the board was at the last stages of negotiating the 5-year charter. So my understanding is that this charter renewal application needs to be approved by the board, saying that you are willing to go into negotiations and discuss renewing the charter. And once approved, then we would start to schedule negotiations. We can't move forward without board approval of the charter renewal application. All right, October enrollment. I think just as we look at things financially and moving forward, we want to keep a close eye on our enrollment. We did have a overall slight dip of a change from going of 31 students to 23 students. But here you can see from October of last year to October of this year for K-5. At the middle school, we do have the growth. And then again, the decline at the high school. And then overall, a comparison, September to September, October to October. The decline of 23 students, that's considered flat enrollment. We know it fluctuates. Pat did an enrollment report showing several years, and each year over the past several years, the high school has just slowly declined. And that's also in our long-range facility plan, that will continue to slowly decline in our enrollment. So something to definitely keep an eye on. I have asked Missy Love to come and present special education data for next month, because that is an area where we have increased our enrollment. And I'm going to ask her to present that data. All right, an update on Roberts Career Tech. Brimmick, I know, is accepting bids for the demolition part. And demolition is tentatively scheduled to start November 11th. They will start earlier if they can. And then overlooked having the Just Look Left October report in the board packet. I can have that ready for you next month. But each month, the grant writing company gives an update of everything that they've completed. And the big news is that we were awarded the Future Ready Oregon $500,000 for manufacturing. Karen and I have a meeting coming up with the Just Look Left team and someone from Future Ready to talk about managing that grant and the reporting requirements and all of that.
Is there any restriction on that? I mean, can that be used for building or does that have to be this stuff to go?
It's only manufacturing. So it's equipment, and then there's a position in there to work on designing that pathway and bringing industry people together.
Do we have a, like a deadline by when we need to use those funds?
It is a 2-year grant.
2 years, okay.
So end of the 25-26 school year. I don't know when we will receive the funds. Once we get word of this, we will have the resolution to the board for approval of the $500,000. And then Karen will have that set up.
Manufacturing, what kind of manufacturing we would be discussing?
Well, that is a great question because it's one of the areas that we really have not nailed down. We had Abisha Stone and I went and met with Susan over at Sea Reach, and they make all the wayfinding signs nationally. They're here in Sheridan. They're next to the Hurricane Coffee. That is a manufacturing plant. And Abisha's idea is that there's something that students can learn to make in partnership with Sea Reach that would be shipped out. The other model is Tiger Manufacturing at Newburgh High School. It is a student-run manufacturing supported by an industry. And I was able to sit in on a presentation by 2 students on how they run their business. And basically someone would come in and say, I need this piece of equipment. I can't find it anywhere. They would go through the process of designing it, creating it, and selling it. And they are doing quite well, and they've been established now for many years.
Oh, wow.
So that's just a couple of ideas that we're looking at, but that's also the purpose of this grant, is to help us really narrow that down into what are we going to do. We would love to have a student-run business. That just gives a whole range of really good experience, but manufacturing is just very, very broad.
So I keep reminding you.
Anything, I know. This is why we got the grant, so we can get this figured out. We have a great lab in the grant. There's welding equipment. There's things that I don't even know what they are, but there is a list of equipment that will help in that space as well. That's just standard for manufacturing.
Is that a grant that Look Left?
They wrote the grant.
They did. So,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they completed that one. And they have several pending right now that they have submitted. They submitted a very large one to Spirit Mountain Foundation. We have 2 pending with Oregon Community Foundation. And they're starting now to look at some federal grants. And then tomorrow I have a meeting with Dr. Joe Morlock with the WESD, and Elaine from Just Look Left is going to join me for that meeting, and we're going to start preparing for the legislative session to request funding. If the grants are small in size and there are the materials and the equipment, they're not the capital instruction, and it's hard to find the grants that will pay for capital instruction.
That manufacturing, it'd be interesting if you could get something lined up with Hampton or even Boise and Hampton affiliates. It goes even with the ones over at Tillamook, that you could build something or help them build something for their mills or whatever they could come up.
Sheds.
Huh?
You know, build smalls like Ober Kaiser, that's what they did. They have a wing, they build a small shed. You come in, you come out, how big you want, and they build it for you.
Yep.
Back a trailer, load it on.
The requirement for a pathway is that we have an industry advisory. We've got to bring the companies like you're listing together to say, okay, what can our students, how can we partner with you, and what can our students learn to create? So that is part of the grant that is going to help us get that done over the next 2 years.
We can kind of partner with Hampton, they give us all the wood. We
They gave us a lot of money.
They did give us a lot of money.
But it would be nice to do something with that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Towards that. See if you could figure out if they have anything that they have actually built for them outside for their,
Mhm.
not equipment, but, other things, like where they put their lumber totes on or whatever, their logs or whatever they go at.
Do you remember who's on the manufacturing pathway committee?
I don't remember who Abisha brought together for that. Sea Reach is the only one that comes to mind because we specifically went there and saw their board of all their projects. You go to a national park and you see all the wayfinding signs, the kiosks, the information, the kind of the little game kind of things you can play. They design all that here in Sheridan and they ship it. So they have a small size paint booth. They do all the work. They have another offsite place where they finish some of their items. But I was pretty astounded with what they do and how they design it. So it would be a great partnership with somebody local, but like you said, it's very broad. Any other questions or comments?
Question. You kind of mentioned about like having, oh my gosh, I forgot her name, talking about special education.
Yes,
Missy?
Missy Love.
Next time, but in the charter renewal, they talk about like potentially moving their students or serving their own students. Do you know how that'll affect us if we are predicting increased enrollment in that?
That's what we're going to have to talk about in negotiations. They've requested that before. I have explored contract or charter language, I should say. I got to start saying charter, not contract. Charter language around special education services, because right now the 2 special education teachers for SHAPA are actually our employees. They're on our salary schedule, but that it's weird, but they serve SHAPA. Karen, Missy, and I need to look at what are we getting from the state for all of the SHAPA identified special education students? Because we keep a portion of that.
Do you know what the rough number of like students, how many students that is?
I don't know how many students they have in special education. It might be in there, a percentage.
I don't think it was an exact.
There's 2 special education teachers and the
They're
caseloads.
part-time.
Yeah, one's part-time. And then the caseload can run
14%.
30 to 40.
Whoa.
With disabilities,
I don't remember if it's in there.
Yeah, 14% are students with disabilities, but I don't know if that,
right.
yeah.
So,
It really goes outside of that too.
Mhm.
but to get back to Ruby's question, Karen and Missy and I would have to sit down and look at how much funding the district receives that would then go directly to SHAPA when we keep overhead of it. So there's just, I don't have an answer for you. There's numbers on that. And then there's also language of liability. And because they are our charter, if a parent, someone is not happy with their services, they can also include the district in their complaint. So there's some risk there, and I need to continue to explore that.
Are they our employees, the teachers?
The special education teachers are.
Are the school's employees, are they paying for their services?
We keep a portion. You want to explain that?
We get with the state school fund,
Right.
there's like a special waiver for
Right.
SPED. So we keep all of that. It just looks like we have all SPED students. So, but then we're paying for their employees to cover their SPED costs. So what we would have to figure out is how much money are we getting from the state for the SPED waiting?
Did we hire these
Yes.
individuals?
Yes.
Yes.
So they're our employees.
Yes.
But they're
We
fully
actually
there?
pay them,
Yes.
but they claim them as their employee.
Well, they work with them in the virtual setting as their employee. They provide the training, the equipment, but we pay them.
But they're not paying.
No, we're keeping the money. We pay
State's
them.
paying for them. and they're just employed by the district.
So, okay. In
know.
reality, they should only get a partial of that, and we should get the majority of that.
We keep all of their special education money. They don't get any of it right now.
Okay, but they want some of that.
Yeah, in the
Exactly.
renewal.
Well, they want to discuss it. That's what's.
Yeah, they want to discuss it.
Well, they want to discuss going unlimited
Right.
enrollment too.
Yeah, which was another big question of mine.
Like I said, their application and approval of it just opens negotiations.
If you just figured it out, they have 326 students, as it says right now. And I don't know roughly how much the student gets paid, and how much they get paid for it.
Mhm.
But I just figured like $9,000.
You're close. Yeah.
That's $2.5 million a year they're getting
Mhm.
from the state,
Mhm.
which is fine, because they do have some good programs. I like the pods that they're talking about.
Mhm.
I think that is great.
And there's a portion that we keep.
Right, we're keeping a
We
portion
keep
of all of it.
indirect,
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's like every charter school, we've been down, they want that money as well.
We got a lot to talk about with them. So just when we read that application, we're not agreeing to anything. We're agreeing to-
Right, you just,
Okay.
we're agreeing to negotiating with them.
Exactly.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. All right, any more questions for Dory on that section? If not, last report there is fiscal. Anything you want to point out, Karen?
No, I mean, remain chaotic. It's been like the perfect storm of, we've got all sorts of quarterly reports due. And then, I got, auditors are coming next month, so I have to get a bunch of finish up stuff from last year. And then it's payroll all at the same time, so it's been very interesting in my office. So hopefully the audit will go smoothly. I really don't have any concerns. And then, yeah, it's the circle of life. We started, it's gonna be the end of the year, and I'll have to start doing like all the W-2s. But that's about all.
And we hear that other districts still do not have complete audits. So I feel very, very fortunate that we have auditors that are coming on a regular basis, and they camp out in here and they review everything. So,
And we have a good relationship with them because like we have them, it wasn't authenticate. They had to do something for our solar planning grant, and Corey just went ahead and did it and got that all taken care of. So it's nice to be able to say, can you do this for us, please? So.
mhm.
All right, anybody have any questions for Karen? Anything fiscally related? If not, we will move into our.
Good luck. I'm like, good luck.
Unfinished business. Yeah, good luck on the audit.
It's always nerve-wracking, but
Yeah.
it'll be fine.
Okay, so our first item on there is the OSBA conference, November 7th to 9th, which is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that we decided.
Mhm. I should have put the dates in there.
Isn't this the one that they joined with, like, is OASBO members coming to this one too? I felt like they combined one.
I don't know. I don't know. This is the standard OSBA conference in downtown Portland. I am not able to attend. If board members want to go up for the day. I was,
I felt like I went in summertime, so I feel pretty.
You're off. I think you're off the hook, Larry.
Can
I
we
could
do
go-
it sure? Because it said it closed
I
on the
think
14th.
oh,
So sales ended on the 15th, but I mean, maybe they'll still sell us a ticket if anybody wants to go.
I mean, I could go on Saturday.
Ruby for Saturday?
I mean, I imagine there would be some good stuff up there.
Oh yeah, convention registration closes October 14th. What happens if I
So we
click on
can
it?
find out. Oops. Okay.
Ended.
Uh-oh.
Ruby's gonna wave the flag for us.
It all says ended on the registration. But
Kale, can you find out if we can still get registered?
Yeah,
If anybody wants to go?
Yeah,
It seems early that they've locked it. I mean, I haven't seen that before because there's still a month, you know.
Wasn't it they wanted it 15th or something?
Yeah, I don't know.
mhm.
Okay.
okay.
I think that's for, like rooms too.
So we have an action item in here for the bond, or a business item for the bond.
It's just
Discussing,
continued
keeping it on our
discussion.
radar, keep talking about it. Okay.
We have a board work session in November. We can start talking then and getting an idea of what we want to do. I think we have some work to do with our community and getting more and more information out and marketing our best self and all the positive things that are going on and things that we have done. So we could certainly discuss it at our November work session.
So imagine then we're gonna talk about maybe like a backwards calendar, you know, starting when we need to come up with the language, which is gonna roll back into, are we gonna hire a consultant? We'll talk about that at the work session too.
Right. I can have all that
And
ready to
grab all that
go.
Information, okay. Is there anything when you discuss tonight, would you go over that? agenda?
No, is that what you would like to do for a board work
Anybody
session?
wants to
Samantha,
speak?
you're going to be gone.
Correct.
Okay.
So, but it would be pros and cons of May versus next November. And then I think it would be good to spend time together going through the long-range facility plan in a board work session.
Is that an outcome we would want to have, is a number by then, or items we want to do, and then we start putting price tags on those kind of things?
I could at least take the tier one and ask
Price
OTEC for
Right,
some,
Tier one, okay.
for
Numbers.
basically some numbers so that we have an idea.
That's probably a good place to start. We're not going to get further than that. So,
Yeah. Okay. I can have that ready.
Okay. And if everyone else look through, if there's anything on tier two that you feel strongly about, maybe we can try to get that to Dory so she can put a number on that too. So we don't fumble around too much in November. It's just going to come up so fast on us that we got to get a lot of stuff done by then. The holidays are going to fly by. And then it's fall time. So.
I had something in there, but I don't.
What's the date on that? Is that
It's the first Wednesday in November.
November 6th? Okay. Okay, anything else about the bond that we want to talk about in November? No, I mean, that's kind of a rolling discussion topic too. If we think of anything that we have to, feel free to share it in email or bring it in November and we'll talk through that. It's, that's a Wednesday, is it? Okay, so it's an evening thing.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, let's move into action items then. First one being the school district and Confederate Tribes of Grand Ronde MOU that we discussed, reviewed before.
Where did I leave that?
Okay, so we got an idea of the changes in the presentation that Dory outlined, kind of covered a couple things that we needed. Do we have a motion on that one? If we want to.
I motion to approve the MOU, or what the MOU as presented with the changes.
Okay, we have a motion from Ruby and a second from Samantha to approve the MOU. Is there any other discussion anybody wants to have about content changes?
I just think the curriculum's really cool, like learning about that and the different ways and how to incorporate that. I just thought that was super neat.
And needed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had a chance to, that, they have a lot of materials out there on the ODE page and everything. It's really good curriculum. It's kind of my takeaways. Bring it on, and it's only a good thing to partner with the tribe.
Quick question, when would this be presented to like staff? that, hey, you're gonna have to
So
do
the
this?
next step would be, if approved, it goes to the tribal council. If they approve our edits, then it would come back here for final board approval of the final document, I think, would be the process. And then we would present it to staff. And the implementation would take place next year.
Okay.
Next year, okay. Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none. Gail, do you want to go ahead and take a vote for us?
Yes, Michael Griffith.
Aye.
Larry Dowell.
Aye.
Brad Baggy.
Aye.
Ruby Yaris.
Aye.
Scott Burke.
Aye. Okay, the MOU passes unanimously, and we'll see if it comes back to any other changes. Okay, and we also, the next step is long-range facility plan that we had our presentation about tonight. And tonight we get to talk about accepting it and set the table for, and there's a deadline on this, isn't there?
No, there's
No?
not a deadline. We just cannot get the awesome grant without approval and submit it to the state.
That's what I, well,
Yeah,
so that's the deadline.
that's the
We
deadline.
have to
Yeah,
get it
you're right.
done, so to speak. Okay, yeah, not the official deadline, but
So I guess by January.
in the January. Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion?
I make a motion to accept the long-range facility plan.
Anybody have a second?
I second.
Okay, we got a motion from Larry and a second from Ruby to accept the long-range facility plan. Any other questions, discussion points? from anybody?
I would just like to thank, I know we only have one committee member left, but that's a lot of work. So that's a big document to put together. So thank you for your time and putting that all together for us and helping get the input from the community, because that was very much needed.
I would second that. So many volunteer hours. It's great. Thank you. Okay, hearing no other discussion, Kel, can you take a roll for us on this one?
Michael Griffith.
Aye.
Larry Dowell.
Aye.
Brad Baggy.
Aye.
Ruby Yaris.
Aye.
Scott Burke.
Aye. Okay, we have an accepted long-range facility plan, again unanimously. And last action item we have tonight is the Sheridan All Prep Academy Charter Renewal Application. As discussed before, we must vote whether or not to approve the application, so that would open the door for the next step of negotiating. Anybody want to make a motion about this one?
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept, because I can sit here. Accept the all prep charter school renewal application.
All right, do I have a second? I'll just keep looking at you. If not, then.
I'd just like to remind everyone that I can't.
Oh, yeah.
So are you
I'm abstaining. My
staying?
children attend that
Thank you,
school.
thank you for reminding me of that. I didn't even look at you.
I'll second.
Okay, thanks, Ricky. Okay, so we have a motion from Larry and a second from Ruby to accept the All Prep Academy Charter Renewal Application. Any other questions, discussion?
I have a question.
Comment?
Dory, do you have, do you know, like, some of the items on here that you'll plan to discuss further with them in the negotiations?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Do you have items like on here that you plan to discuss, like certain topics in here that you plan to, will you share that with us at some point, or when, after negotiations?
Well, I think as part of negotiations, we would come together as a team and say,
Okay.
okay, what are the areas that the board wants to discuss? I'm going to guess of their enrollment, their
ADM?
special education. Those are the two big ones. The enrollment cap was the big one last time.
Did it change? Because I wasn't here, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep,
What
it
was the
did.
cap before?
Went up to like from 300 to 500.
Mhm.
Now they want to go to the unlimited.
Is that negotiation, is that a committee or is it just you or? is that-
No, there's two board members. Do you remember who's
Okay.
on that?
Scott Ruby.
Okay, so we'll be there.
Okay.
Like, we're gonna be
That sounds
part of
I
that,
know there's
so-
two board members on.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not just me.
Yeah,
I just have like a random question. So what if we said, we're not going to approve this? what would happen to the charter?
They would still exist and they could go out and find somebody else, or they
They'd have to find
petition the
another-
state.
They could petition the state, Larry's right, they could petition the state, or they would find another district to sponsor them.
I mean, this is all, you should be involved in this too. There's a lot of.
Yeah, if they.
Karen will sit in on
Dollar
it.
changing going in and
Yeah,
having it.
absolutely.
If that was one of the negotiation points, they want to go unlimited enrollment, and we just said absolutely not, and they won't budge and we won't budge, then they go back to the original contract, the old contract, until they'll probably call in an arbitrator, and then it just goes on and on. And, but they're under the old contract until they come up with something.
So they would have to leave.
I believe that's the way it works.
I don't know. It never worked.
It's new territory for me, so I would be
Fun
contacting
times.
Kristen with OSBA, who's our charter expert.
Yeah. There's a lot of work to do on a lot of sides of this table, and we have lots of discussions, lots of data, lots of things to figure out. But I don't think of it adversarial at all. Like, they're a good group of people, and they do a heck of a lot of education for this community, and even in their application, the results that they have are pretty darn impressive. So,
And they are growing so much, which is crazy. Okay, thank you.
okay, anything else? Any other discussion, questions, comments on that item? You going once, going twice? Okay, Gail, can you take a vote for us?
All right, Mike Rivers.
Aye.
Larry Dow.
Aye.
Samantha Maggie.
Abstain.
Ruby Artis.
Aye.
Scott Harper.
Aye. Okay, the motion carries 4-0 with one abstention, and we will be talking lots more. Is there a date on that one? Like, do we have the contract done by spring or?
I have to get back to them with the board's approval officially signed off by sometime in November, and then that opens negotiations. Like I said, last time, I started July 1, and it still was not
Oh,
completed.
okay, so we have all spring.
Yes,
It could.
it could go back and forth for some time.
But we have two
No.
sessions. or-
Oh, no. It can take several months.
Gotcha. Yep. Okay, topics for next meeting. Pat mentioned a letter for OSAA.
Mhm.
Is that something that people would be interested in creating and signing as a board before November 1st?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there some interest in that? I mean, we could all, if anybody who wants to can write a letter, or if there's enough interest, we can write a letter, and anybody who wants to sign can sign.
For the OSAA,
For the OSAA petition.
I'll sign my name.
Or
I'll sign.
Just give me my paper.
we all sign it, or the chairperson signs it.
I mean, you could write one too if you wanted, and just send along as well, and just a joint one together as a board.
Okay. So, I don't know, is that something we want to tag you on? It's a board letter. I can write it. I'll write something up,
Okay.
and then.
I can give you a
kick it out to everybody.
template.
Okay, yeah, if you have some kind of,
And because Pat has all the
Reference, then we can
information,
take care of it.
and I will be writing a letter as well.
okay, then we have a couple weeks to get that done, so maybe I could just leave it at the office, and we'll figure out the logistics, so.
Okay.
Okay, and we already have the work session as kind of our next meeting to look forward to. Anybody have any topics that you want to just go ahead and throw out that you want to cover in the next meeting? I hear you won't be here.
I don't have any topics either.
So we're gonna tag you with all the action items. Okay. Okay, if not one, we never have any trouble coming up with an agenda. There's plenty of things to put on there. I'm just gonna go around with board comments then. Go ahead, Mike.
The prison tour, we put that off for a while. When you take a tour out of there, you work with the executive assistant, and I kept calling him, he never called me back while he's gone. He transferred on the California. So I thought, well, I'll deal with directly with the ward. He retired.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a bunch of people filling in, and it's just real hectic to try to get anything done. The acting exec is the safety manager, and that's a really busy job out there. So I talked to them, and then we'll put it off till after the holidays. I'm gonna give you back your form, so I don't have your social security.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that mine? Okay.
And then, after the holidays, I'll contact them again, and they didn't have a new warden. I thought, that'd be great, we'll, kill two birds with one stone, meet the new warden and do a tour. But they only-
They were at the town hall. We should have asked, but I didn't think about it.
Do we get them any Chromebooks for the hiring event?
No, we were unable to do that because our Chromebooks are set up that you have to have a Sheridan email.
Oh, gotcha, have to log in.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So I apologize, we weren't able to do that.
Okay. Anything, Samantha, before you?
I was curious if anything came about with discussions with Sean about a workday for fixing it, like doing yard work and all that kind of stuff. Every time I drive by, I think about it.
We don't have a workday set up yet. Sean and I had talked about that as well as the other concerns you brought up last month. So we'll get something started. I know there is a Sheridan Revitalization Cleanup Day for our community, but we're also looking at the weather and what date would be good. We can do a grounds cleanup, definitely. And we did discuss what kinds of things we could do in front to make it look better in our areas. Yes, there is.
Can we paint Sean's house? Can we paint the annex?
That can be on the list.
The annex looks
Yes.
Most people don't know it's tied to us. What house? I don't know.
I call it the annex.
Okay, anything else?
Nothing more from
You
me.
good? Okay. Ruby?
I have some exciting news for the Sheridan Tree of Giving. We're partnering with the Giving Trees, and so the families that sign up with us will be able to receive a Christmas tree. So they just have to let us know that they're interested in that, and I've just updated the application so if they want one, they can have one. And then there are actually 6 total programs open right now that families in our area could be eligible for that close by November 10th. So a lot of them close November 1st or sooner. So there's Christmas at Five Rock Ranch for single moms. Closes October 28th. That's a lottery style selection. A Working Family Christmas. That one's actually a really good one because they partner with Damian Lillard Toyota and they pick up gifts there and do all that stuff. And that one doesn't have a close date, but I think by the end of October. Sheridan Tree of Giving closes November 1st. Angels in the Outfield, they serve all of Oregon and their deadline is December 4th. And I want to backtrack on A Working Family's Christmas because that's income based. So they have to be income eligible to apply for that one. Then Christmas Smiles Inc., they are open till November 1st, but they have a age cutoff, which I think is like 14 or 15. And then Tree of Hope, that's through Hope on the Hill in McMinnville, but they serve all of Yamhill County. They have 3 sign-up dates, one in October 27, November 3rd, November 10th. They have to go in person to the church to apply, but they serve the whole family. So that's a really cool thing about that program. And then Salvation Army will have their openings here at the end of October, but I can send all this to you, Dory, if you like.
Okay, please do.
And then I think that's it.
Nothing for seniors?
No. We could start something, but no.
The scouts will sell you a tree.
Right?
I don't need a tree.
And Larry, you had a question in the beginning about a follow-up with Sean. Can we get that down somewhere? Was that a next meeting item or just a follow-up item or?
No, I asked the question last month if he would find that.
Oh, the easement.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I got noted
Yep.
to bring up.
I made a note about that. We can
I mean,
I think you meant, why wasn't it in the minutes?
it wasn't in the minutes.
Right. I think that was your question earlier.
Oh.
I think that's where you were headed with it. Because that's what we were doing. We were approving the consent agenda.
Right.
And so it should have
I
been a
wanted
change to the meeting. It should have been an addition to the
Put in the
minutes.
minutes that was a question to be
that
Right.
you
That's
asked.
what I
answered.
thought you were
Okay.
trying to
To
say.
be answered.
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
I mean,
Well, it would be good to give the board an update. I mean,
I don't want to do that. I can edit that. I mean, I think it's well past the stage that we can do anything about it anyways. But it's flustering and outrageous the guy can get away with this and nobody calls him on it.
The last I heard, it was attorney talking to an attorney and coming up with an agreement. But I have not heard anything in several weeks. So,
Because this is not the first time he's done that in this community.
okay, that's also good to know.
Yeah, so is that something you can put in your
Yes.
report for next time?
Mhm.
Okay.
Between Sean and I, we can
You're so
report it. It's fine.
knowledgeable in our history. I love it.
You have to live here.
Well, I've only lived here for 3 years, so.
Okay, anything else, sir?
Nothing.
Okay.
I have nothing.
All right, next meeting, Wednesday, November 20th, and I will just declare us adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
So this, you want me to keep this or we just?
Well, it's just possibly, we'll have to
It's
call
so
another
funny.
one, 'cause the dates are different, we'll have to have different dates.